stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, the fire department regulations, notice of proper exits.
Through the chair, we have two exits located right over here. If those are blocked at all, we have an exit right through here. We'll go through there and follow the eliminated exit sign.
Thank you. C, approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes, October 7th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Executive session minutes, October 7th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And one abstention, which is Helen.
I'm sorry, I missed it until I just saw it right now. It says, Joseph Becker, chairman, presided. I did not. And so I'll make just a motion to amend the chairman.
All right. Second to just do that one correct?
Second.
All right, motion and second to correct that. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Still carries. Approval of warrants, they are going around and there are a lot of them in there, so if you haven't signed them, please do your best to sign them so we can pay our bills. Correspondence tonight.
Yes, we do have some last minute correspondence.
Excellent.
So I'm happy to be able to read. The first one is for Al Beeland. Thank you for your service in the Air Force. You might be a school committee member, but we will never forget what you did for us and others. And it's signed by the Leo Club. And then there's another one for James Caldwell. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate your help and support. We value your work in the school and for our country. And it's signed from the Leo Club and specifically Vanessa on it.
Thank you.
And David's not here, but happy Veterans Day, Mr. Grenier. Thank you for all that you do. Your sacrifices will not be forgotten. Leo Club. And then one for Al Reich. Thank you for your service. The Bay Path Leo Club appreciates everything you've done for our country and community. Sincerely, Leo.
Very nice of them, and to the two that are here, thank you for your service. To the two that are not, we would say the same. Student Advisory Committee, Matt, here tonight, welcome. Again, just like last meeting, if you have something to add, or if you have something you'd like to say, just get my acknowledgement and feel free. All right, excellent, thank you. With that, we will go to 3, citizen participation, as there's no more business. Anyone in the public wishing to speak? Okay. With that, 4, new business, A, surplus equipment.
Through the chair, superintendent director, the vocational director, and the interim school business manager recommend the school committee vote to place 1 prototrack lathe on the surplus equipment list to be disposed of according to the school committee surplus equipment policy using the most appropriate method.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B, approval of Skills USA Leadership Conference.
Through the chair, superintendent director, and the vocational director recommend the school committee vote to allow 12 students and 2 advisors to attend the Skills USA Fall Leadership Conference for workplace readiness to be held November 24th and 5th for a cost of $5,520 to be paid out of account number 53, Skills USA.
So moved. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Where is it located this year?
Marvel.
I think it's always in Marlboro.
Yeah, Marvel. Conference. Any other questions? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C, approval of outside project, Treasure Valley Scout Reservation, Rutland, Mass.
So. Once the scout, always the scout.
Through the chair, superintendent director and vocational director recommend the school committee vote to approve the outside project for Treasure Valley Scout Reservation in Rutland, Mass. as submitted.
I have a motion for that.
Second.
And I have a second.
As a member of the committees at Treasure Valley, a life member, I don't know if that would be a conflict of interest or not. The reason a lot of work is being done at Treasure Valley is that we're celebrating a 100-year anniversary in 2025. It started with businessmen from Worcester that chipped in to buy the property. It is up to 1,600 acres. It goes Rutland, Caxton, Spencer, and Ocam.
Excellent.
I would just make a suggestion to Bob that, given that I don't see this as a controversial vote, just to be safe, maybe abstain from it, given the potential conflict.
I can do that. So someone else is gonna have to.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? So one abstention, Bob Dunkowski. Motion carries. D, approval of 2024 annual report to the towns.
Through the chair, the superintendent director recommends the school committee vote to approve the 2024 annual report to the towns as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. E, review of year-to-date expenditure report.
Through the chair, a review of the year-to-date expenditure report should be in your packet, and our interim business manager is here to answer any questions.
Have any questions for Mr. LaFleche? Okay. I don't think that's an action item for vote, so we will just move on at that point. F, approval of transfer of funds to purchase 7D van.
Through the chair, superintendent director, the school interim business manager, and the budget subcommittee recommend the school committee vote to approve a budget transfer of $100,000 to the school bus van purchase fund, account number 32503, to purchase a new 7D van.
So, second. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Well, what is the 7D van that it would be $100,000? It's not a regular bus, obviously.
It's a school bus, 7D covers school bus. You need a 7D license, you need a Massachusetts school bus driver's license to drive that van. So it's equipped with the flashing and the stop arm on that. And it can be only used by a qualified driver to transport students to and from school.
So it's a school bus,
It's a school bus, but a van.
right? Is it handicap accessible?
The 7D is not.
No.
The van, the 7D van
Van
is
is
not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. G, acceptance of superintendent director's revised FY25 goals.
Through the chair, the superintendent director recommends the school committee vote to accept the superintendent director's revised FY25 goals as submitted. And note on those is focus indicators are included with each one of the goals, and on the front page is a key so you can see what the focus indicator number equates to.
Motion
Motion to accept.
and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to thank Mr. Brennan for including those.
Sure.
Any further? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. H, appointment of district treasurer.
Through the chair, superintendent director, the interim business school manager, and the budget and negotiation subcommittees recommend the school committee vote to appoint Mr. Patrick Collins as the district treasurer. Mr. Collins is here this evening, as I said, in the budget subcommittee, over 30 years as assistant superintendent for finance and operations at both Shrewsbury as well as Aspet, former long-term member and president of MASBO, and sits on several community advisory, financial advisory boards.
So
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and again, I'd like to introduce, I know a lot of people are here at the subcommittee, but if you've got a few minutes to just introduce yourself to the remaining members.
Sure.
those members that weren't here earlier, Patrick Collins, and happy to be here. Thankful for the consideration to be your next district treasurer. As was mentioned, 27 years as school business administrator, currently serving as district treasurer of Sherwood Regional Schools. And, so we're being appointed here, trying to sort of fulfill the duties as my predecessor here, Kyle, has done successfully for the past 20 years, is my understanding. Answer any questions that the committee members might have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Collins? Again, as I said before, thank you very much. We look forward to it. And with that, take a vote.
You can take a vote, and then I can do that.
Perfect. Absolutely. So any other discussion? Being done, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And with that,
Through the chair, if it so pleases you,
Yes.
I would love to recognize, and I don't think she needs any introduction, our current and retiring district treasurer, Carol Barron, for 24 amazing years of dedicated service to the district. And with that, we have a little token of our appreciation for you, Carol, and I can bring it down there to you. We have a beautiful chair, Gardner chair, that has the Bay Path seal, your name, and the years of service that you served Bay Path on that. And we have the box, and I'll box it up for you so it doesn't get damaged in transport. We just got you some beautiful flowers again, just a small token.
I gotta tell you, can I just say a few words?
absolutely.
And John, it was on the heels of the horrible thing that happened here. And John was busy. And they said, oh, you're gonna share it. I knew John do the treasurer's association, so sure, we worked together. And we became good friends. And then when he left the same team, and it's been, even when I taught at treasury school, and I would say something, and someone would say, what's it like if you've been at other schools? And I said, the ideal is big. It is done the way it's supposed to be by the letter of the law. It's just to be part of something that works out with. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. And I really appreciate it. And I said about tears, I did have a day here. That you remember. I went to the ladies' room and going back to the office. I decided to do the circle. And it was a rainy day. And the academic doors were open. And there were students and buckets. And it was splish splash, getting the raindrops from that leaky roof. I went in the office, he says, what's the matter? I was crying. I says, how can those kids concentrate? How can they do their work? And to see how it's all come about and the advent. I'm just so glad I got to be here with this. Thank you.
Excellent. And again, Carol, thank you for the 24 years. I think they said that's amazing. Excellent. What's the plan of retirement?
Crochet a little more. I have a goal.
Excellent.
come through the house with that.
Take some advice from John and shut your phone off, because I think we like the call. So, he's probably, ruling that he didn't change his number.
I have no problem. I'll be there for you, coffee,
Appreciate that.
you know? No problem with the call. Hey, the girls even text. So, yeah, it's a good system.
Thank you very much. All set?
Yep.
All right, with that, we will move on to approval of practical nursing adjunct professor wage increase.
Superintendent, through the chair, superintendent director, interim business manager, practical nursing academy director, and the negotiation subcommittee recommend the school committee vote for a wage increase for adjunct professors in the practical nursing academy of up to $52.50 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, discussion, creation of new working group. And this is something I asked to be put on the agenda, kind of the follow-up to last month's meeting when we were all sitting here, and there was a lot of public here as well, if you recall. And one of the items that really hit home was hearing that we're having a sense that we're not hearing what's going on here, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever that is. So one of the thoughts I had, and I actually ran with it as myself, not as part of the board, I thought about it a little bit. I came and met with a couple of union presidents. I'd like to see if the school committee was willing, and I know the unions are in favor from the discussions I've had, of creating almost a subcommittee of sorts. And it'd be made up of a limited number of members with a very specific set of ground rules. And those ground rules would be specifics to what we could talk about, what we could act with, and
No, anyway.
I know, I just.
the box is smaller than him. How is he moving? Everyone over here was thinking. He's leaving in December. But in all seriousness, going back to what I was saying, I think a subcommittee is the way I'm seeing it, but again, at the pleasure of the board, I'd like to get rid of the notion that we're not hearing what's going on here. And unless we do something to change the repetitiveness of expecting it to change, it's not going to. So the subcommittee it's a work in progress. I mean, there's no set composition of it that I'm seeing yet. It's more of just to put it out there to see if it's something worth moving towards. And when I say moving towards, again, I've spoken with Nicole, who's here tonight. I've spoken with Dan, who's here tonight, both presidents of their respective unions. Again, and I don't want to limit it to just those two. I'd like to talk to the secretary's union and the custodian's union. Again, unless we try something that shows that we're willing, they're willing. We're going nowhere. We're spinning our tires, and it's just, we got to get past it. So, with that being said, I wanted to get the flavor of the board and see if it is something you guys are behind. I would then progress to talking to our legal counsel to make sure we're not doing anything that infringes upon any union rights or anything like that, because I don't want to go down that path. I want this to be above board 100%, something that either goes on for a little while to correct the deficiencies everyone's seeing, or goes on in perpetuity. So that we always have that working relationship and gets rid of the us and them to the best extent possible. So, again, I'll open that up for discussion, but that's just where my mind was going. So any comments or anyone willing to add, tell me I'm crazy, or, offer up another idea.
It's a good idea, it's about time.
Thank you.
I think it's worth pursuing.
Excellent. Anyone else?
I agree. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. George?
Under normal circumstances,
I would probably disagree with it and say it's not a great idea. I just don't know that the way that this is drawn up as a political body is supposed to work this way. However, desperate measures, desperate times call for desperate measures, and I really don't see any other way around this, as you said. Kind of hit a wall here, so I would be on board with that. I wouldn't be. I'll tell you right now, I won't be a part of the committee, but I am 100% on board with the idea because I just don't see any other way out of this.
Thank you. Oh, Bob?
I think it's a good idea to also talk to our attorney, since, you know, their union representation, and we do have.
That's exactly what I was saying. That would be my next logical step that I would propose to Tim, just to make sure that we fall within everybody's purview. Again, because I don't want to get to the point that we get into any gray areas like that. And as I said, the ground rules that I'm thinking of is this is solely for the purposes to get the tensions down, and let's open up the ears and the eyes to anything that's going on in the hearing. I don't want to discuss in this committee any negotiation items, any grievance items, any bargaining items, but just get to the point of what the causes are and see what we can get from that. We have subcommittees that deal with those other parts already, and we'll deal with them that way. But this hopefully alleviates that. Don?
All I want to say is it sounds like a great idea. And like Phil said, it's about time, and let's try it and see what happens.
Thank you. Al?
Well, in my 20 years on the board, my basic was the communication and to learn as much as I could about what keeps the school at such a high level. And it's the students' benefit to have instructors and teachers that are totally dedicated to their profession. And I think the communication of this type of a group would be very, very helpful in being able to exchange conversation and feelings without any negative objectives, but to bring it to the surface of what are the desires, what are the benefits to the school, and the end result is how are the students going to gain more for their professional life ahead. I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad you brought it about.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yep, I was just gonna say, I credit the creative thinking on this from both sides to come up with a possible solution. I would also, I think it would be great to add, probably all the unions somehow.
As I'm saying, I think it's the smart way. Gets everyone on the same page and it's up that channel.
Yeah, good job, creative thinking.
I have a similar opinion as George. I think under normal circumstances, it's outside of our lane in a way. But I see this as we're at a point where there needs to be some way to start a conversation. And I would suggest that I like the term working group versus subcommittee. Because I think that helps draw that lane a little bit clearer versus an official subcommittee. And I would just encourage both the administration and the unions that take part that I think a lot of the issues and topics that need to be talked about are, in my mind anyway, non-school committee items. Hopefully, it's an impetus to get the conversation flowing and civility flowing and ideas flowing and compromise flowing without a way of overreaching and overexerting the school committees. But again, I like the working group idea, not so much a subcommittee idea.
Okay. All right. I mean, again, this wasn't an action item. This wasn't to put up for a vote. It was just to get the flavor of it. My next step in hearing all this will be to talk to Tim. I'll send him a note tomorrow. He's been away on vacation, so I couldn't do it previously. He had a couple weeks out of the country, so we'll see where it goes from there. Then again, as I've already spoken to a couple here, I would like to just reach out with that. I'll update everyone as we go along. When it comes to the time that we have an action item to form something and have a guideline or something to follow, I'll present that. So I really appreciate everyone listening, the good words, and again, if there's anything as we go down that path, that you can say, hey, that sounds a little sketchy, let's try this. Again, it's something that we're trying to meld into what we need it to be. And when I say we, everybody here at Bay Path, not we, the school committee, not we, the employees of the district, it's all of us here. So again, that's what I'd like to see happen, but again, let's see where it goes from here. And again, thank you to Dan and Nicole for both listening to me. Whether, defeated here or not, I really appreciate your time, because that's all we can do is try and get our heads together. So thank you.
And
Yes,
could we hear their expression of their feelings about it?
I have no issue with that.
And the people from BPTA that I've spoken with, they were very excited and hopeful. Conversation might be something that we're doing. People are like, sign me up. I'd love to be a part of that. So hopeful. And I know that one of the secretaries was like, yep, count me in. I'd love to join too. So I think people are like feeling like the school committee's behind them.
Dan?
Sure, thank you. Obviously, when Ben brought up the idea, I thought it was an excellent idea. From a personal standpoint, like that's kind of like right up my alley, bringing people together, voices, cross table talk, so that way there's no tonality, there's a realness, so to speak, to it, and I think that's where progress is made. When we brought it to the group as a whole, the whopping 6 of us in our union, overwhelmingly was received in a very welcome fashion. So happy to be a part of it, and I think that there's such a thing as committees to death, so to speak. Almost like they use initiative to death. But I think this one is worthwhile, and hoping that if we are able to move forward, a lot of great news will come, not just a lot of good.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. So again, it seems like we've got something to move towards, and we'll see where it goes from there. I hope to have an update for the next agenda and see where it goes from there. And again, I'll reach out as we start moving through with you guys and start spitballing this together. Thank you. With that, we will move to K, acceptance of student handbook policy changes.
Through the chair, superintendent, director, and principal recommend the school committee vote to accept the student handbook policy changes as submitted. I want to commend the work of our assistant principals for doing the full work on this and putting together a comprehensive new cell phone electronics policy to coordinate and our Yonder initiative, as well as in looking at the handbook. We want to revisit the hats. We're putting a lot on our students on day one when they came in. No more coffees, no more Red Bulls in the morning. Those are all out the door as they enter the building. Cell phones will be new to them in terms of locking them up. The policy has been in place since I don't know when, that they aren't available and they should be locked and stored away. The Yonder will enable that again when they come through the front door, that they're locked up, put away, and they're accessible at the end of the day on that. As well as one other policy that, not so much a policy, but more of a caveat that we put in. Our discipline isn't in alignment in the student handbook with 603 CMR 53, which the state has mandated that schools do everything alternatively before we suspend out of school. So looking through that, a recent incident that we had, it was revealed in the handbook that should have been a minimum of X days of out of school suspension. So that flies. We can't have minimums. We can't. That's called zero tolerance. And the school must now prove that we've taken every restorative step before we've hit a minimum or a mandate of out of school suspension. So just a clause that would enter in before discipline that states that, the handbook is a guide, and CMR 603 CMR 53 takes rule, and if we are in conflict, then obviously 603 CMR takes precedent on that. So a minor disclaimer there, so that allows us to go through the entire handbook and remove zero tolerance references and things like that, bring that into alignment. But if anybody has questions on striking the policy and the new policy, as well as the headwear allowing past in head coverage for religious purposes. So those questions.
Through the chair. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
Well, I need a motion and a
I'm sorry.
Feel free to make it.
So moved.
Have a motion, and Don, you second. All right, with that being said, discussion. Don?
Thank you. First of all, shouldn't this have gone to the policy subcommittee first?
So through the chair, I spoke with the chairman of the policy subcommittee, and with the timing of it, we have discussed it. We need to move it forward, timing of implementing the yonder. So, there's an agreement with the policy subcommittee chair that we push it to the.
I think I've stated before, I'm pretty much against the HAP policy. And I know it went before the subcommittee twice, it was shot down twice. It did not move to the full committee. And, you know, some of the reasons were given were for medical purposes and so forth. Kids feel more secure when they wear their hats and everything. But I think the safety of the students in the building is more important than worrying about the whether or not they feel uncomfortable coming without washing their hair or hiding their hair. Schools are for learning, and hats are not essential for this task of learning. I just think that it's been that way since I've been here. There never seemed to be a problem with it. And I understand that a lot of people feel that in the jobs, in the trades, they're gonna go to work, wear hats. But it's just as many trades and professions that you're not wearing hats. And the hats in the classroom can be a distraction. They could block the sight of a student from a teacher and vice versa. There could be a safety thing there with, there could be concealing a weapon or any of that kind of stuff. We went through the backpacks. We have clear backpacks for that reason. So I am very much against the hat, but I also like the, I'm okay with the cell phones. So I'm not sure if we can vote on this in 2 parts, or 3 parts, since that with the CMR issue is included, as opposed to just not, because I do agree with 2 of them, not the 3rd one, but I think my no vote would, to be clearer, I think if we were able to vote on each one separately.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a point of inquiry on the change here. So the hat is in this change, right?
It's yes, so there's 3 proposals here for the student handbook. First one, cell phone electronic policy. The second is proposed addition, which is the CMR 603, and the third is the dress code. Just a change to line 4 in the handbook where it says hat use, or it currently says hats or head covering of any kind are prohibited. We strike that and we insert hats or head coverings, cultural and religious, are permissible as long as they do not obstruct the view of the face or interfere with the successful and safe completion of learning activities. And then it goes on, regular stuff, coats, jackets, personal backpacks, blankets, or stored.
And then just another thought, maybe I missed it earlier. There's now a ban on, was it coffee and Red Bull energy drinks or?
No, that stopped at the door before every student came in multiple doors. It was hard to police.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to have coffees and Red Bulls and all that in the morning. There should be no food or drink in the classrooms.
Gotcha.
So having all students enter one doorway now in the morning, it facilitates dump them out or finish them outside as they come in. So it shouldn't progress to 10 o'clock in the morning and they walk around with a cooler.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to just echo what Don said. I don't push back on a lot of things. This is probably one area that I seem like I'm pushing it back. A lot of people aren't. But my sentiments with Don said, we're in full agreement. But it just seems like this hat topic just keeps getting backdoored, coming around. I'm wondering why is such this big push? Because it did go to policy twice. It was shot down narrowly in policy. so it never made it to the full school committee. And now we're bypassing policy. And I know we've talked about it a lot, and one of the past meetings, we had a big discussion on it. But this has been in a policy that's been in the school for years, and all of a sudden there's this immediate change in this. I don't agree with it, and I agree with Dawn in terms of, I'm gonna vote on this, I'd like to say.
I would agree with that. And I also think, I mean, the hat is obviously so I think it should be separated. And there's no reason we can't action the pieces that need to be actioned tonight, and that is sent back as the policy subcommittee.
I could be wrong, but am I reading it as hats and head coverings only for cultural and religious? That's how it's, right, or is it for?
Head coverings are cultural or religious head coverings.
So it's for any kind of
Yeah, you can wear.
something on your head,
Yeah.
whether it's cultural, religious or not?
George, through the chair, I would agree with comments made by my three committee members. I'd like to see the split. I'd like to see it go back to the policy committee. And that's not to say that I would vote in favor either way. I would probably vote to allow the hats. However, I just think that we really need to go through the proper channels to make that happen. It's not comfortable with the way it's going through it.
Okay. So again, I have no problem taking 3 separate votes. Again, someone could amend the motion. The motion is to accept them all as one, so.
I'll make a friendly amendment that we split up the 3 changes recommended for the handbook into 3 individual motions.
Second. So that being said, I have zero problem calling for that. What we'll do is I'll take them in 3 separate policies, 3 separate votes. The first one being cell phones, because that's the first in order if I recall. So with that being said, any.
Chairman, point of order?
Yep.
You need to vote on the amendment.
You're right, I do. So all those in favor of the friendly amendment? Thank you, Jim.
Aye.
Opposed? Now I will take them in the order of cell phones first. So, any discussion in regards to these cell phones, the yonder cases as a whole? Before I call for the vote.
I'm also curious because I know a lot of kids were curious if like we'd be able to use our phones during like lunch. Like if we were able to take them out of the pouches during lunch, that's something that I never really knew about.
No, the honor policy, they're in the pouch for the duration of the school day.
Okay.
At the end of the day, they're.
The construction trades that go out, are they allowed to bring their phones with them on the job site, or is it?
It's an extension of school, they can bring their phone, but it should be in the pouch.
Okay.
So, the only thing I would add to that is if we are on a house site or a job site where they're just their instructor, I would recommend that we alter that policy, because if the instructor is the one who gets hurt during that, we have no access to phones, especially on a job site, I think those students should have those phones unlocked. Again, if we're doing a house project in the middle of Spencer and again, the instructor is the one that's injured, I think that would be silly not to have an alternate access to phones. So I do recommend that gets thought about before.
Just a question with that, and this is through Chair to Kyle. Could the site people have access to, it must be an unlocked device or something?
Through the chair, there's portable devices to unlock, and we could work that out and see what our peers, because 2 schools that we know of are vocational schools, and see what they do on that, whether the lead instructor has that portable device in the van, so that if he went down or she went down, the students could go in and unlock.
Because I can see where this could go 2 ways. You're absolutely right that somebody could get hurt, needs access to their phone. Also go the other way, kids are playing around with their phone and somebody cuts their finger off.
That's how they get hurt.
They're not paying attention.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah, so we can address that. That's not covered in the handbook. That would be an on-site policy.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion relating to the cell phone portion? Being none, I'll call for a vote on approving the proposed change on these cell phones. All those in favor? Opposed? carries. The second item is the CMR 603 discipline. Any questions relative to the CMR 603 discipline and the change in the manual?
How do parents know what the CMR 603 is? In other words, you've got a handbook that says this is the punishment, or this is the due process, or whatever. How do they know that what the CMR is saying about those issues? Or is there a way for them to, I don't know, is it a long thing?
CMR is very long, 603, subsection 53, and I'm not trying to make it, they can Google it, it takes you right there. We could make that a hyperlink in the student handbook, seeing that it's electronic, and we'll take them right to that section. Okay. So we just highlight the 603, it's blue, they click on it, it'll take them right there.
Any other questions regarding that? Being none, I'll call for the vote to make that amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Hats. So with the hats portion, any discussion? And again, I've heard from some already, some new. Don?
Not to put Mr. McGowan on the spot, but he's probably the guy closest to this issue. What's your pro and con to it? I know this isn't gonna like. Properly address the group. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity. I was not expecting it, so keep that in mind. I can see both sides of the argument. People have said in the past that regardless of what generation I grew up in, that I was kind of a bit of an old soul of sorts. I had older parents growing up, so I can completely see the let's call it the way that I grew up. 17 years of Catholic schooling. Even the idea of having a hat on inside of a building was like, I mean, you're gonna have to do 10 Hail Marys and 10 Hot Fathers.
Yes.
And that's grown what I've grown up with, what I know. And again, these are just my personal thoughts, so just keep that in mind, please, as well. And I fully, even at the dinner table in my own household, I take my own hat off and it hangs in the back of the chair that I sit in. At the same time, I've heard the other side of the argument that, a head covering isn't going to get in the way of a student gaining an education. It's not gonna aid, or not aid in their learning, so I can completely understand that side of the argument too. So again, my thoughts are kind of just unveiling what you already know. I can see both sides of the argument. It does not unmurky the waters, that's for sure. So I guess I'm kind of torn in a long-winded way of saying. I respect both sides of the argument, 100%. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Any other comments?
Just last one, if you don't mind. We have over close to 500 applicants coming here, trying to get into debate now. And I don't think the fact that we don't allow hats is keeping anyone away from us. So I don't see, again, the need to change it.
I do see both sides of the argument, but I know a lot of people, like a lot of my friends that all wear hats, and I've never really ever heard another student complain that they can't see in front of them or that their hat is affecting them. That's from what I've heard.
Thank you. Bob?
And I'll just say what I've said many times before in other meetings, and that is, I just think that we've had this policy in place for years. I don't know what the push is to change it. And I'm not to put Danny on the spot, but if people in the building could kind of see both sides of it and are kind of sitting on the fence, I guess my question is, why are we rushing? What's the big push to do this? And, I keep saying the same thing over and over again, so I'm not going to say it anymore. But I just don't see it.
Through the chair. So why change it? We listen to our students. We have a superintendent advisory and principal advisory group, and we listen to our students. And we look at our accountability. We look at chronic absenteeism. Why do students come to school and why don't they go to school? And the things we hear from our students direct from their mouths are, if it's a choice of throwing a hat on and covering what's up here, I'm going to school. If I can't, I'm not. Those are for various different reasons. It's income level, it's access to showering and hygiene products. We hear from students who have varying medical conditions, alopecia or pigmentation, vitiligo, that has different hair. And it's a comfort thing. Just this morning in our first civility group, we heard from a young student who's Muslim and won't wear the hijab for, various reasons on that. We attend to student needs. We look to provide a safe and supportive environment for our students. There isn't a rush. The rush is we have one time to amend. At this time, we did bring it up at the beginning. There should be more dialogue about it. We had some more dialogue about it. We're looking to make one adjustment. We also look at softening. Quite honestly, we are enforcing what hasn't been enforced to, its true level of how it should be enforced about the drinks that cause those are healthy, the number of students with cardiac situations because of the monster drinks and the caffeine and the energy drinks they put into them. We stop that, with an easier way of doing it at the door when they come in. We also are looking to enforce in true fidelity the cell phone, because we know in the studies, and we've had a change, and I personally had a change and wrote a research paper on why we should allow the use of these, because every student's coming in with a device that saves, districts the one-to-one initiative of cost to it, to over time now, in the past 20 years, we've seen the harm that students, when they get disrupted from a text or email that they receive during the day. So we implemented Yonder because that takes it off. Does it cause a disruption? Matthew just said he hasn't seen it cause a disruption in the class, that I can't see the board or I can't understand the teacher on it. We haven't seen a hack interrupt the student's learning process. What we have seen is it interrupt the learning process for the entire class when it's, please remove your hat now, please do this, please do that. And we're taking away from the entire class for the learning process and bringing it down. It hasn't been enforced, quite honestly, to any kind of fidelity since I've been here, and I've walked the halls and I look in and I see the number of hats and hoods, which hoods, we're not proposing hoods be allowed. If it obscures your face for safety reasons, it can't be allowed, whatever that headwear is on that. So we're not trying to rush it through. I had a conversation, we have had conversations about it, and please just separate it out. We can have further conversations. We can look to that, but it was brought forward from administration, from student input, and how do we address it with the students? I'll turn it over to Ms. Packard, who's had those one-on-one conversations.
If I may, through the chair, this is a great debate, and I do appreciate everybody's position on where they stand. None of it is personal. We ask our teachers to do two things. We ask them to adapt and adjust. Students come through our doors, and they're in all different places. This is a public school. We want kids to feel comfortable coming into their school. I've heard a lot at Bay Baptist Church, we've always done it this way. And I say to myself, you know what, that worked. It worked at a time then when I was growing up. Children are different, their needs are different. We're looking at integrity of learning, adapting and adjusting and making the shifts when necessary to meet kids where they're at. This is a small concession. There are a lot of kids who wear hats. I can't believe how many wear hats. And I'm coming from a district that was a no-hat district. And then all of a sudden, my daughter went and got married, and I got back the next day, the superintendent changed it, and everybody's wearing a hat. So this happens in public schools. And I can tell you emphatically, it didn't change the culture of the school. It didn't change the learning of the school. It provided an opportunity for kids to be themselves. And I've had this discussion with multiple kids. And I kind of wish some were here at the committee level to be able to articulate out how they feel. But this is the reality of being in the trenches of it. So I just ask before you vote, just think about it, because we are evolving, and that's part of what we do in public education. And it's not a knock on the people who believe and who don't believe in this, it's about what's in the best interest of kids at this point. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just looking at the overall policy. There's a couple things that are standing out to me, and one of which is the very opening paragraph about good taste in the various industries and business establishments where students will eventually work. And I think that's a good lead into the policy. And then I look at the rest of the policy and I take into consideration things like torn or shabby jeans. And then I think it's style. How many ripped jeans are there walking around the school building during the course of the day? And if I had to answer my own question, I'd say probably a significant amount. So that leads me to the question, why the hats? Why is the hats picked out of this policy versus everything else? Because I'm sure there's a lot of other things here also not being abided by. So why are we picking the hats and not just looking at this as a whole policy?
That's a good point. I think Kyle has a response to that.
No, again, we haven't, and yeah, pointed out the number of torn and shabby jeans that I see on a daily basis are quite plentiful. Hats, again, it was brought to us by students and a concern on students. Like we said, many of the school districts have acquiesced on the hats. For all of those are sending districts allow the hats on it. So we addressed it because it was brought by our students on it, on wearing the hats on that. And again, we abide by, what the community decides on this. We were looking for a concession on it and to, provide the students a little give on the take on that side. Going through that. But again, you're right. In vocational, it's what's expected in the business world. And so forth on that. Yeah, slippers. In the shops, there are no slippers, there are no torn or shabby jeans, there's a uniform, they have to full leg, it's all safety. So there are no slippers and there are a lot of things that don't go during the academic week in the shops because of the safety.
Katie, Jeff?
Yeah. Quick question, if just kind of a point of reference here. If we vote no on hats and it goes back to subcommittee, does that interfere with the publishing of this? I mean, does it? Because I think that if we do that, we should then action that in December. I just kind of put this to bed one way, well, yeah, if it goes down, if it passes tonight, well, then so be it. You have your answer.
So through the chair, if the first two pass, we make the amendments on the student handbook and publish those to the website for all students and send a notice out that this is the new cell phone policy, the new clause in discipline. Dress code won't be touched.
Hold on, Katie first.
I kind of have to laugh at some of this stuff because you see all this every day. Every day. I worked here for 9 years, and I think anybody who knows me, these high school kids, I'm a straight shooter with them and stuff like that. And one girl, I'm just going to give you a prime example of what teachers are dealing with on the daily. A girl I knew very well from culinary, because we work hand in hand with culinary, coming through the breakfast line. Leave something to the imagination, kid, that I was told if you don't like it, close your eyes. I said, good luck in the real world. And I turned around and walked away. That's, in all honesty, I can't imagine what a teacher's hearing or whatever. I can't imagine the water that you're treading on where it's especially being a male teacher, hey, things are hanging out of places that they shouldn't be hanging out of at school. And if you say something, now it turns into a sexual harassment kind of thing. It's rock hard place. It is. I mean, I know Karen Lee too. She got no problem calling. It's hey, come on. And it's a woman to a woman kind of thing. But if a male teacher were to say something to some of these girls, or that you see flip flops every day, I see belly buttons every day, I see cleavage every day. All these things that are on here are none of it's being followed. To be honest with you.
Al, you're next.
Well, my opinion is comfort to a student and the freedom to rights for the ones that wear that hat. And I disagree with the statement saying, well, it could obstruct view seeing a teacher. Our students are not fixed assets. They move, they can see. I agree with his comment was, there's not a complaint from another student that somebody in front wearing a hat is obstructing them in any way possible. And groups I wear a hat. All of my employees are required to wear a hat. When they're in a crane area, they're required to wear a hard hat. The situation of the hat situation is an individual thing. I wear my hat here in respect to my veterans. I do the honor memorial burials and their hat goes in the coffin. The situation of this has become so ridiculous and the comments being made are just dreamed up just to throw a negative at. I think the freedom of a student is to allow them their rights. And if they are pleasant and enjoy wearing a hat, then I think that's what it should be. Thank you.
Any other comments, Bob?
There are suggestions that this has been part of conversation often, especially in policy committee, and I think tonight we should settle it. It shouldn't go back to any subcommittees at all. It should be settled tonight. Members of the policy committee are here, and as a body, let's take action.
The beauty of our board is we don't have to go through subcommittee. We do that to vet it with especially 20 members. That's the whole purposes of our subcommittee setup. Again, this board can act on any item it so chooses without sending it to a subcommittee. Again, our practice is to go through the subcommittee process to vet it and save us a little bit of time going through it here. This item's been there, it's gone from there back to here and so on and so forth. So I understand your point. If there's nothing new to discuss, and again, it seems like we're hitting the same old points, I will call for the vote on it and see where it lands. But any other comments?
One last thing, we'll put a lid on it. I think, thanks, Joe. I think at the end of the day, I am confident in, we have some highly talented administrators here that have brought this forward. If there was a safety concern or some other concern with this, that they would raise it. So I'm at this point willing to support this.
Thank you. Last try, anybody else got anything to add to it?
Just one clarification, can you outline what a yes and no vote is?
So a yes vote for this will accept the written policy as presented with the changes, allowing hats or head coverings, cultural and religious, are permissible as long as they do not obstruct the view of the faith or interfere with the successful and safe completion of learning activities. A no vote would defeat it, and we would keep the policy in place as it is now, thus barring the wearing of hats.
Can I ask one clarifying point?
Please.
The current policy.
Yep.
Comes to cultural and religious.
We would.
Are they allowed or not today?
It's not covered. I would have to, if it was religious, like if a Muslim student came in with a hijab.
Okay. Thank you.
We would lose that. Yes, yes. So, again, any other new comments to be added? If not, I'm going to call for the vote. George?
Through the chair, I will very uncomfortably vote in the affirmative, but I don't like the way this came down at all. Nothing, and you can say that, subcommittees are just subcommittees and we can overrule, we can take into consideration what they say, but the way this was done is very uncomfortable. That being said, I will vote in favor of that.
Excellent, thank you. So again, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Okay,
That's all right. New stuff.
I'm not gonna talk about kids wearing an Indian headdress because their grandfather was the chief, like I did before. But I just wonder, how far are we gonna let it go before we stop letting children tell us what we're gonna do? The genes and everything, the whole thing.
Okay, like the beauty of our policies here, in my opinion, is we can revise these as we need fit, see fit. So again, hats are the issue right now, and I have no problem taking it up. That's the only change in this portion of what we're voting on. What I'm hearing, and I'll extend Kyle on our next review of this, that we go through the remainder of the policy to address all items, especially torn and shabby jeans clothing, slippers, flip-flops, pajama pants, I mean, touch it all, because again, if that's what we're seeing out there, and that's what we need to draw the line in the sand at, then let's address that. The item on the table right now will be for the hats and head coverings only, and we will take it from there. So I think that's the wisest way to do it, because that's what we're presenting. And again, get the student input and involvement, as you did with this one, but present it to us, and Helen, I understand, you can't have inmates running the prison. However, we have to do, and I agree with Dean in this, you do have to change with the times. Every construction site I go on, every single one of them, hats are everywhere.
But this is not a construction, well,
Well,
we're constructing
I'm sorry,
student brains, but
but we do have certain shops here that are construction oriented.
that's different, that's different.
But we don't have a policy here broken out between trade shop attire for this policy for hats or academic kind of attire.
Why don't we?
Well, again,
if that's the crux of the issue, and we have a policy review going on, let's write a policy that applies to shops. Let's write a policy that applies to academic, and even within the shops, there's professional settings and there's construction settings. Let's write a policy that encompasses it instead of this like all or nothing type of approach.
the hardest part that I see with that, I don't disagree, I see where that's going, but is the meandering through the halls. Well, I'm in shop this week, so I'm wearing my hat. I'm not in shop this week, and I'm going to academic class. I can't wear my hat. So it's gonna be very difficult to police that from an academic, I mean, from anybody in the school. And Dan, God bless you if that is a policy we go for, because I don't see how, we would be able to police that any more than what we're doing right now. So I follow that 100%. I have a student here now, and I see that, hey, it's culinary week. I can't have on this, I have to have jeans, or non-sweatpants, believe it or not, I believe is what she said. Now, she might have been pulling my changes to wear sweatpants to school, which we still didn't allow, but again, she's ninth grade, she's got a set of work boots now because she's got construction shops. That's not something that she's gonna wear to academics, I absolutely promise you that. It's a fight to get her to bring them now, but we have to find a way to make this work. And with our dual cameral school of shops and academic classrooms, it's gonna be one of those things that, again, it's gonna be very hard to police. So, with this motion right now, well, Peter has not spoken yet, I know that, so.
What are some of the other sister schools or vocational schools? What do they do as far as their hat policy?
Specifically, I don't know, I wish they're allowed to have. I can tell you that during shop week, there were shop uniforms that they wear. They're specific about what those are. Color shirt, type of pants, the material that they have to wear, depending on what shop they are, that it's not flammable or this and that. So they do have a separate uniform policy for the different shops, and those shops identify what is acceptable, what's not acceptable in the shops.
Do we know what school like Monty Tech or asked for that?
And we can look at it.
I don't know.
We just looked at, in terms of other schools, we looked at sending districts.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Barra, I'm the new assistant principal. It's nice to be here, thank you. I just wanted to say, I do know that, I live in Upton, the BVT, they're allowed to wear hats there. When we were at Pathfinder watching the process of the yonder pouches, they also had hats on their head there as well. So I know that at least two of the vocational schools in somewhat of this area.
And
we're wearing hats.
So, thank you for calling me out, because I said our APs, but I didn't call out our new assistant.
That's okay.
Amy Barrett,
No, that's
who
okay.
joins us from Milford.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have her, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By a discussion of bisecting to academic versus shop, what we end up doing is asking the teachers to police the room. And by asking teachers to police the room, it's taken away from the education process. That's all.
Thank you. So with that being said, we know what a yes vote, we know what a no vote means.
One more comment, and then I'm done.
I hope so.
My comment is this, and it's kind of along Helen's line a little bit. That is, we've got a lot of policies that have been discussed here, besides hat, jeans, slippers, flip-flop. And what I'm getting, this is what I'm hearing, is that it doesn't sound like we're enforcing any of them. So my point is, if we're not enforcing them, why we even bother changing it? Because it doesn't seem to matter. I've heard on multiple occasions, nobody enforces it. Nobody. That's what I'm hearing. So, hats, jeans, slippers, whatever. What's the point of even having a policy book if it's not enforced? That's all I have to say.
Okay. With that being said, I'm gonna call for the vote. Don't stop me, I swear to God. All those in favor, and again, in favor means accepting the revision of the hats as presented.
Okay, can we go around to a call vote? I'm not sure.
A weighted vote?
Well, I don't know if it has to be weighted, but I think it should.
I think just vote.
Yeah, let's just vote.
Put your hand up. A roll call vote would be weighted, you know, and that's our policy. So again, I will call for a vote if that's the way it would be. So all those in favor of adopting the hat policy as presented?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Can we try that one more time? All those in
Show of
favor?
hands.
Yep, you can show a hand.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes. So with that being said, we will move on now to information and proposals. Say that again? Opposed was Bob Tremblay, Don Montville. Moving around. Yep, Peter Scher. You get those two? Yep. Okay, I got to clear, so I'm just making sure I can see. Yep. Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
C1, information and proposals, report from the superintendent director.
To the chair, I submitted a written report. If there are any questions, if you have them, real quick, just a couple big highlights. We received over $700,000 to start a new Chapter 74 diesel technology program through the Mass Skills Lab Modernization Grant, and that will also help us buy new equipment and furnishings for our ISSN department. We had a fantastic 8th grade tour. The energy was phenomenal as well as the open house that evening. 8th grade tour, we had just close to 1,300 students come through on that, and open house was in the thousands. There wasn't a parking spot to be had on the tar or on the grass either. So the energy that night from all of our shops and teachers was phenomenal on that. So I just want to call those out. And we had a wonderful homecoming dance.
Thank you. So we'll go through subcommittee reports. Audit hasn't met yet, so that being said, budget subcommittee, Tim Scher was elected chairman. He's not here to give the update, but we did go through a couple of items we voted on tonight. Primarily going through the excess and deficiency, the net school spending, and then the transfer of funds for the vans with John LaFlesh, who has escaped us. Building and ground subcommittee has not met yet, I don't believe. New business. Negotiation subcommittee, Dave is out sick, Tweak is back, I believe he said, so he's not here, but it was a joint meeting tonight. Again, on the items I already mentioned, as well as the appointment of a new district treasurer. So we have a meeting coming up, I believe, the 14th for negotiation in person here at 5 p.m. Policy subcommittee, Peter.
We had to reschedule our meeting with Tracy Novak. I believe it's toward the middle.
19th.
Next week.
19th.
So we will continue with her giving more information for the policy book.
Excellent. Thank you. Warrant subcommittee, again, they're available here for signatures by all the school committee members at tonight's meeting and every monthly meeting and during the day at school. Just call before you come in to make sure someone's available if that's the way you decide to sign the warrants. Future business, there's a meeting here Monday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. in this room. Topics for future agenda, reach out to the superintendent director or myself, and we will do our best to get it on there. Remarks from the superintendent director.
Through the chair, start with sad news. It was brought to my attention today that Virginia Ginny Petroleum, yes, passed away on Wednesday, October 23rd, at the age of 87. Ginny was the sewing and clothing teacher here for a number of years while we had that. So I'm sorry to report that. The obituary is out on that. Not sad news, but I did reach out to member Al Reich. I spoke with him to see how he's doing. He's still fighting. He's fighting. He wishes he could be here. He sends his very best to everybody, and he wishes you all a happy Thanksgiving. So if you know Al and you want to reach out, word encouragement for his fight would be helpful on that. Good news, athletics, girls soccer's played tomorrow night at home, first round of the MIA tournament, Ipswich, and they are the large school vocational state champs on that. Football Friday night, first round at MIA, they're still undefeated. We play Swampscott, unfortunately that's away, so it's a long drive on that. And I just want to congratulate all our fall teams for the wonderful season they had this year. And the hard work they did. The town work that we were doing for the Lions Club in Charlton, Graphics did their brochure, Second Chance in North Brookfield, a tree cabinet from Graphic Communications. Rutland Cable, we made a desk and cabinet making, Festival of Giving for Southbridge, a bench and 120 ticket stands from cabinet making. Town of Southbridge, Graphics printed a bunch of envelopes for them, so good work for all our trades. I want to mention that we had our first civility group with the principal, the director, and myself, and 4 students. A lot of really good work. These 4 young students are mature beyond their years and gave us a lot of really good insight as to what's happening in terms of biases and racial incidents, and then we have some work to do for kindness across the school. So it was the beginning. They already identified some other students they want to reach out to. We've identified some teachers that we want to bring into the fold on this, and it's you know, while disturbing that we have this year, it's encouraging that we have a group of young students who are so dedicated to this hard work. They have taken that initial brave step to come forward and bring some light to it. So we look forward to continue those meetings on a monthly basis and some good work coming up. I want to thank our veterans, both present and absent, for their service to our country and your service to our community as well. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. With that, comments from the committee. Bob.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Bob.
In regard to thoughts about the potential diesel program, where does that application stand?
So it's a great question through the chair. We had our initial kickoff with our new state's EVT liaison, Latoya. And her last name escapes me, Jim Dieter. Tavernier. So we had our initial conversation with her. We were assured that the new process for program will run lockstep with our grant. So it goes in coordination, and she's coming on site, what day? I believe it's the 20th. So there's a new process that they're going through. It's similar but different. It's not as stringent as the dates that used to be in place. So they're going to work with us, and we're hoping to have this approved for next year.
And the reason I asked that question, my tenure with the Workforce Investment Board, folk tech schools have often sought support from the Workforce Investment Board. And in looking at the data from the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, I would suggest to look at the more recent for Massachusetts as well as the nation, because there is a need everywhere.
So through the chair, Mass Hire was part and parcel to the decision to move forward with this. So we have letters of support using the Central Mass blueprint that was there, as well as looking at the new BLS information on that. So, yes, Mr. Churchin wrote a great letter of support for us.
Okay. And, yeah, sorry for the old name of that agency, but I'm dating myself when I go back to my affiliation with the organization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don?
I just want to acknowledge Nicole and Heidi for their video clips that you guys send out with what you're doing with the kids. It certainly is nice to see the school spirit, you know, that sweater exchange. I don't know where that idea came from. It's a great thing you guys are doing, and you guys need to be leading that the whole.
We try to have fun when we can.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Just wish happy Veterans Day and thank you to President Veterans and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And thanks, Dean, for the regular updates that you sent via email. Flow to the top of my box.
Pete?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Congratulations for the girls soccer taking the Colonial Athletic Conference. And best of luck to hope they continue with their success of their soccer season. And thank you for all the veterans.
Al?
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I certainly thank you all, for all veterans, in respect for this American country of ours. And the delight of the meeting was when you brought up the fact of possibly allowing us to have much closer communication, much open-minded, and freedom to be able to express and not carry it through with a grumble. Make it so that it can be understandable, workable, and the whole benefit is going to be ending up for our students. So I want to thank for that. Thank you.
Jim?
Can't say it better now.
George?
One concern I have, Matthew, did you have something prepared for tonight? It looked like you may have had a report, no?
No.
Okay, just making sure. So you're putting those papers away.
Yeah.
And I know.
That was just the agenda.
He had the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know the chair said if you have something to say,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you planned on preparing a report for us, or I just want to make sure that we didn't step on your toes, that's all.
Yes.
Beyond that, I have some concerns with the whole budget conversation. I think we're in a good place right now, thanks to John LaFleche. I think there's going to be more oversight on behalf of the committee. I don't think that we should be at all held responsible for any of those issues, but I think there should have been more oversight before we got to this point. With the hiring of the previous business manager, the findings from the auditor, I have great concerns with that. I don't think that should all be trickling down to us. We will deal with it, we will be staying on top of that, but I think that should have been caught a little bit sooner. It's a little disturbing. That being said, congratulations to our sports teams. And I did have a question. Are we gonna have a bus to Swampscott?
We have
Awesome, that'd be great. And then, happy Veterans Day to everyone. Thank you to the veterans who sacrificed so much, especially the ones on the committee. Really do appreciate the service. Lastly, if there is a committee to rid this place of slippers, I would love to be on that. There's one thing that goes up one side and down the other, it's slippers. Those are for wearing when you get home from work or home from school, so I would like to volunteer for that committee. And Ben, thank you for putting together that other, I don't know, what we call it, a working group, or
For now.
I think that's fantastic. Definitely a step in the right direction, but sign me up for the slippers, not for this one, I'd be too controversial on that. Thank you, happy Thanksgiving to everyone as well.
Thank you. Katie?
I'd like to add blankets to his slippers, because that's also that's also another issue. I'd rather wear a blanket than a jacket, and can't tell you how many times I've heard Deb say blankets are absolutely banned or whatever, when you see 30 blankets walking down the hallway because it's cooler than a jacket. What, so that, this is real life. So, but no, I wanna say, I think you have a great idea about trying to get on the same page. We gotta start somewhere, and with all the legality stuff in place or whatever, I look forward to helping out with that. Just wanna thank everybody just for being here, you know, this is a great place, the kids deserve the best that come here. This school pumps out some really great stuff. So, I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you to our veterans and, you know, I appreciate you guys also very much. And, happy Thanksgiving.
That's
I was gonna say, you could add pillows to that, but we can probably add pillows to that pile.
From somebody coming from a human resource perspective and a dress code that I expect everybody to be an adult. If you look in the mirror and don't think you should be going to work in the outfit you have on, change. But that being said, we all wear blankets at work because we're freezing. So we allow blankets, but not slippers and flip-flops. That's the other thing. So I know it's not easy. It's not easy no matter how you look at it. That being said, happy Veterans Day and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Don.
Just happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thanks for the participation. I mean, get 15, 20 people in a room and it all seems to come around in the same direction. Happy Veterans Day. Thanks for serving. And thanks, Gene, for the updates. Really, not just the school ones, either some of the restaurants you choose.
Yeah. Personal account.
Got some great pictures of food.
Okay. Terry?
Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Joe.
Again, recognition of Veterans Day, thank you to all those who served, and happy Thanksgiving.
Helen?
So Anne Marie, I have to say about the flip-flops, I once married a couple. She had the most gorgeous wedding gown I've ever seen. It had to be like $5,000. And on her feet, she had white flip-flops. But happy Thanksgiving. Thank you to the veterans. And in case you didn't know, tomorrow is National Election Day.
I can't believe that.
And you gotta go and vote. We had a young man in our house this week to do some things to our computer. And I said, well, next week on Tuesday, it'll all be over. I said, did you vote yet? And he said, no. I said, oh, you're gonna go vote on election day? He said, no. And I said, I should have stopped there. And I said, why not? And he said, because there's no point to it.
Oh, boy.
I felt really bad about that. I know it seems like sometimes there's no point to it, but there is a point to it. Go vote. Right, Katie?
Right.
You'll be watching the
I'll be
confusion
watching.
tomorrow.
I mean, that's all day.
Thank you. Again, echoing the happy Thanksgiving, more importantly, the happy Veterans Day. And because of that Veterans Day, we have that right to vote tomorrow. So it's a full circle idea. And again, thank you very much for that. So with that being said, we are going to move into executive session for contract negotiations. And I will entertain a motion that the school committee vote to move into executive session for the purpose of MGL, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I was finishing that, but